Welcome to the Jira Life, the place to find news, events, and interviews with the Atlassian community's movers and shakers. Join our hosts, Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Rodney, the Jira guy Nissen, as well as the JirAmigos in the peanut gallery, as we sit down and discuss the latest going on in the Atlassian ecosystem. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life, the Jira Life chose us.
Hello, JirAmigos.
Hello. What we got here?
Mr.
So
we're two away from being a true Brady Bunch here.
We've
I'm
been
sure
looking
they'll
up
come.
to the side.
Yeah, where's Sarah? We gotta get Sarah and Valerie in here, and then we got the Brady Bunch. Hey, everyone.
It's tough on a vacation week. Can't you tell?
I know, like we're all unshaven.
What's shaving? That doesn't exist this week.
Sean's like, this is my normal attire. Well, thank you all for joining us on this lovely day after some special holiday, or not hot special holiday, depending on which region you're in. But thank you for making some time this morning for us. We wanted to meet up because, as you know, we are wrapping up season 2 of the Jira Life. And yes, I did have
Season 2.
Season 2. I had an argument with a very, very sharp cut knife.
Knives tend to win those kind of
The
arguments.
knife definitely won, but my brother-in-law said that you don't own the knife until it cuts you. So I'm now the proud owner of a knife.
I'm
Anyway.
not sure I agree with that, but
So we've come to the end of season 2, and Bob and Rodney and I, in case you all don't know, we have a post-show meeting that we typically do for anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour. And we kind of chat about the good, the bad, the ugly, the future, the past, what we want to do, where we want to go. And in typical boy band fashion, the three of us have always just come to a lot of opinions. And we're like, why don't we open this up to our members and help them figure out what do we do for the Jira Life in 2025? And so we thought it'd be a good idea to bring you all on, since you are sponsors and members of the show and huge supporters, right? And give you an opportunity to kind of weigh in on what you've liked, what you would like different, and kind of just discuss your opinions on where we can take the Jira Life and how you think the Jira Life can serve the Atlassian community better as we roll into the following year. Did I get that okay, Rodney? And
I mean,
Bob?
yes, but we also want to take a look at the Atlassian community and Atlassian events as a whole, because a lot has happened this year. Bob put together the Trello board for us for the retrospective, and I blinked and it filled up with different events and announcements and new products that have all been the past year.
And to be honest, because we're doing this the second year in a row, it now counts as a tradition.
Is that what it is? 2 in a row, and it's a tradition.
Two in a row, and it's the tradition. I mean, once is just kind of some idle talk between the three of us and Sajid. Getting him to appear on the show. But now, since we're doing this for the second year in a row, it's now enshrined as a tradition.
So if 2 years makes it a tradition, so after season 3 of the Jira Life, you guys could go into syndication and only have to create a new episode every other week?
I wish.
I don't know. There's a challenge with live recordings. When Rodney and I started the Jira Life, I remember distinctly we were kind of like in a meeting, just him and I, and we're like, how do we make a podcast that is sustainable to our busy schedules and our different time zones?
Yes.
And we're like, we have to cut the editing out. Like, we can't edit. Like, if we do that, it's just a recipe for failure. So we went into the live stream mode, and we picked once a week because that felt right at the time. But I don't know going forward.
It still feels about the right pace.
Things to think about, though. Does it need to be a weekly show? Does it all have to be live? Can we do every other week, right? Things to think about.
Well, I think part of it is going to. I'm going to throw out the standard consultant answer, right? It depends. Right now, the once a week is fine, but I will tell you that for every hour we do, it's definitely 4 or 5 hours of prep.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's it really, really depends on our schedules and things like that, just to get all the background right for the show. And season 2 had its challenges because the format was we would get a guest every week. So that meant even before the week, we would have to make sure we had somebody well in advance and, communicating with them to make sure that, yes, you're appearing on this date. Is this time good for you? As we tried to get into some people that on a Thursday afternoon in the United States, it's well in the nighttime for them. So that proved challenging too.
Yeah, and hope that they would show up, right? I don't know that we ever not had any no shows, but there were moments.
We had one. We had Josh Costella, and then we were scrambling because he
he still told us with a bit of advance. I mean, it was same day, but it was enough advance that we had a chance to scramble. We didn't have anyone. We're getting to 4:45 my time, and then they don't show up.
So that was good. Although during the 24-hour live stream, I seriously thought we were going to have some no shows too. But yeah, some stuff to think about, and just to throw this out there, right? Guests. What are y'all feelings on guests, right? So think about that and noodle on that, and we have some ideas, and so we'll chat about them at some point.
So I'm gonna be answer that from a very somewhat selfish perspective, because I got to physically hang out with you guys this year many times. So I got to hang out with Rodney in Barcelona. I got to hang out with Bob and Alex in Austin. Bob came to Atlanta. Rodney's in Atlanta, so I got to selfishly kind of hang out physically.
And there's a team conference in there somewhere too.
Yeah, the team conference was in there, so I got all 3 of you. So selfishly, I got to hang out with you guys, and so I love the fact that there's that physical interaction, just because I love hanging out with you guys. But also, I think people would enjoy, kind of seeing some of that, behind the scenes, kind of, hanging out. And Alex, you recorded the Austin ACE event, which is awesome, kind of thing. So I personally love more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's been something that maybe I've wanted to do on my channel, but I think the Jira Life might be the appropriate place, right? Is to reach out to community leaders and go, hey, can you guys get some B-rolls and maybe some presentation material, and we'll just publish it on this channel.
I mean, one of my goals for 2025, and I've told Alex this many times, I've told the team this, the Jira Life crew this many times, is I want to get Alex to actually use his passport next year.
That's not happening.
2024 was the year of the passport, so
But we got it. We got the goal done. Now we need him to use it. So I'm already reaching out to some partners, especially out in Europe or down in South America. Like, hey, we need to get this boy traveling.
I do feel this is a bit imbalanced, though. We've been picking on Alex all year about the passport and a few other things, but we need to do something on Rodney too. I mean, we've got to give you some grief next year.
We got to spread the love.
We've got some stuff coming up with Rodney. Don't worry about that.
My wife is already setting up a collection drive for all the spam that I'm going to receive at Team 25 to give out to the homeless.
I've been enjoying this year and the different formats. I think I love the questions at the end. That's what I look forward to, and it's good they're at the end because that keeps me present. The things I don't love are when people are talking over each other, when you've got like a guest and the two of you talking, and it's just like, oh, this is too much.
Well, that's the beauty of a internet-based podcast.
No. I wouldn't be so interested in educational presentation slides. I would much more love the, and have you heard what Atlassian did this week kind of stuff, and oops, we did that.
That's interesting you say that, because one of the ideas that I proposed to the fellas here was, even if we don't have a guest, because this, as you heard from Bob, right, getting the guest every week can be stressful because not everybody wants to be on camera and not everybody can accommodate the time. Yeah. And so, like, well, what if it's just Bob, myself, and Rodney, or Rodney, or some permutation of the three of us talking about our opinions, our expert level opinions on a new feature, a change, a release, a bug, or something related to the Atlassian ecosystem.
Yeah, that could work, but you would need a script, and you'd have to follow it, Alex. It's just going to be the three of you warbling away.
Trust me. Some of us have said as such that yes, that there actually needs to be a concrete idea, a seed, if you will, to start and bring your opinions, and you actually have to be well aware of what the topic is before the show begins.
Yeah. And then, Matt, as a double whammy for that same point, our titles, so YouTube works based off of your titles and thumbnails, right? And so our titles today don't enable searchability or discoverability on the platform. And so I was thinking, and again, when we were talking about this idea, was if we do hey, Atlassian just updated the UI, then the title can be as such that it's a curious, hey, what do we think of Atlassian's new UI? And then that's the topic of that episode, and we beat it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, you can put tags in for searchability, right?
I mean, we do the tags, but
right now the conversations are so free-forming that it's hard to put anything into the discoverability on YouTube.
Yeah. To this point, we've done some of this in the past year where we've had what we call emergency meetings where, hey, something just happened. Let's get some people together and talk about it. And those have done really well on the channel compared to our baseline.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would suggest that, you do the best of both worlds, which is you do a guest every other week. You cover the news of the past 2 weeks or anything that's going on every other week. And that way you wind up having a conversation that's a scripted conversation, to Matt's point, every other week about the Atlassian ecosystem, the community, what's going on. And then the next week you bring in the guests and it's more free flowing. I found that since you've gotten more guest heavy, there's more about the guests and what they're doing and what you guys may be doing personally, a lot less about what's going on in the Atlassian ecosystem. Obviously, as a paid subscriber, I also get access to news breaks. So when there is news, I do get that on a Sunday morning or Monday. But I think that maybe combining the two is going to play to your strength, because season 1, you did a lot of that, where like you came in and all of the updates that were going on in the community or in the ecosystem were really addressed, and then most of the episode was covering that, and I think that there's a lot of value there to the community in general. I love everybody that comes on as a guest. I'm not necessarily going to rewatch an episode that a guest was on if I've already saw it live, but if there's something that you guys talk about that whether it's a change in Jira or in Confluence or just in general, I may go back to actually find that episode to get that information, and that's going to be something that's going to have repeatability.
And that's another point that we were making was, well, when we do have a guest, what if we also loop the guest in to give us their opinions on a pricing increase or automation usage limits or whatever, right? And get there, because I think we did it with maybe Dan Toombs, where we asked them like, hey, Atlassian is making some changes. What do y'all think about this? And just get different opinions from different partners and vendors. And maybe even open the possibility of like, we don't have to have a guest. Like, what if it's like an open forum and like 2-3 people can jump on and we just have a roundtable discussion on Atlassian just did this or Atlassian just did that. And
I find those more enjoyable than a guest that comes on and is just pitching a product.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But it is a problem with having multiple people. Is this
more
everybody talking at once, and then you're like, oh, this is just chaos.
We'll just pass the buzzer around and go, you can't talk unless you have a toy. Talking stick.
Yeah, something like that. a coordinator.
A moderator, yeah.
Mm.
So those have been like again. I'm trying to. My selfish goal is to grow the channel through discoverability on YouTube, right? Because I'm the YouTube guy over here. But at the same time, we have to balance that with. I'd also like to be. When I describe to people like what's the difference between my main channel and the Jira Life, on my main channel, people come to learn how to use something in Jira, right? But I couldn't tell you a single person that watches my videos. But here, we create these memories, right? Like Ed just spoke, like we've met physically in person, right? But this shirt, right? This whole thing becomes like this stems from the Jira, right? Like this wouldn't have been possible without this show, right? Without this thing, and then that's what I would like to cultivate as well, right? Is like when we do meet up in person at Team 25, we have like these memories, and like it feels like we've been together every day for the last year, and we're just friends seeing each other again, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I like the most about the Jira Life is those kind of conversations. Sean giving me a fake passport when he saw me at Team 24.
Yeah, community stuff.
I'm sure I'm gonna get a crap ton of spam.
The one thing Alex said when we started this journey a couple of years ago now was we definitely want this channel to be. We want to cultivate a community. We want it to be about the community. We want people to be able to come back again and again, and we recognize names like, oh, Ed's in the audience this time, or hey, where's Andy? Or stuff like that. We want to be able to see the same names week after week.
Yeah.
And I think we've been very successful in that part. But the show can always be better, and we know this, and that's one of the reasons we're here this week. We do this every year. We did this at the end of last year. Like, hey, first year, we did great. What do we want season 2 to look like?
Let's throw in another thing that we're kind of thinking about was, and we did it, we tried to do it last year, but boy, did this thing go sideways on us real quickly, is segments, right? So if you remember from earlier in the year, we try to do like app of the week. We try to do like feature of the week, right? And just kind of highlight a certain things. Like, how do y'all feel about segments?
So, producer here, and I'm this is a blameless environment, but I will tell you,
I'm on the internet.
if you have segments, you need to have structure, and having a structure implies a script, and implies that the on-air personalities stick to the script in general.
Alex.
I mean, we say Alex, but I am just as responsible for us sticking to the schedule as Alex is, and I am by no means. If we get into a really interesting topic, I'll just let it run. So
and the power I have as there's producer in my title, and basically in my mind that has come to mean I help with organizing and doing a lot of the dirty work before Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Once I go live, there's not much I can do.
Wow, the producer blaming the talent.
Well, there's some merit to what Bob said, though, right? But here's been my observations over the last year, right? When we come in with this, when it feels too scripted, then even though we know what we're expecting, I noticed that because I don't know if you guys can see, but we see the number of folks in the call, right? In the thing, right? And there's certain boredom, right, that also comes from a scripted show versus the serendipity and just the wildness of it, like kind of there's a balance, right? Of like some people join to watch what shenanigans we're going to talk about that day. Other people join to see what Atlassian shenanigans happened that week.
I still think some of them watch for those rare but beautiful Alex discovered moments.
Those are the YouTube shorts.
So, yeah, I mean, I So having said that, and knowing what this show is about, I don't think segments are going to be a good idea. I think that you know, if the less segments, the better. So you may see something broken up into 2 areas of discussion, and you might flow into that second area. You're never going to see anything like what we did before with, you know, news of the week, user events, and app of the week. I don't think that's going to happen. You know, it just doesn't fit in with the character of the show. You know, the one time that we had, you know, that's not to say that there will be some things that, some topics that we have a general idea about, and then they can flow with that idea. So I think what Matt says is a bit of both, where it's segments with the running gag. It's going to be like that.
The way I see it, in one of the things we're talking about for next year, one of the show formats is kind of a topical debate or a discussion. And when we do those, I could see doing segments, but it's going to be like 2 broad discussion topics.
Yeah.
And the second one is just if we run out of steam on the first one, we could segue into the second one and still fill out the hour.
That's what I was concerned about, right? Like, so like, let's just say we talk about the UI changes. How can we get 60 minutes worth of runway? Like, do we jump into and go, what's up with this new icon? Like, do we talk about the new icon? Do we talk about the placement? Like, I don't know, what would be entertaining for y'all? Assuming that we stick to let's just do a topical show where we debate. I kind of want to see the
multiple topics for sure. I wouldn't just say, you know, 60 minutes on an icon is not going to grab me. But if you had 15 minutes on this icon, and here's the history of the UI around this part of the products. You know, why would they have done this, and what are the trends that we see in other tools as well? Kind of interesting. A little bit of venting, personal opinions. You know.
Okay, I like that.
And you could do multiple.
I like what you said. Like, also comparing it to other market trends, right? Like, what are Atlassian competitors doing?
Right.
And
I mean, you know, even something wacky like, oh look, here's 15 minutes of what ServiceNow looks like. Show me what the equivalents are with Atlassian stuff, and that'd be kind of interesting. I'm like, oh look, I keep coming across this product. You know, people talk about it, and what does it actually look like? That will be kind of branching out and comparing to other stuff, or topics like, how can I really manage capacity planning with Atlassian stuff?
So I'm glad you bring that up, because that's a good little transition that I wanted to do here. So topic-wise, there's obviously most of us are Jira admins or Atlassian admins in some capacity. But on my main channel, the majority of the folks that come to my channel aren't there to learn how to add a status to a workflow, but rather how to make an agile workflow for Scrum teams. Right? And so the concepts are more on the application of the tool and less on like how do you administer the tool. So should we get a balance of Rodney and I going like, hey, have an open and closed status in your workflow versus having a to-do and done status in your workflow?
I would love a discussion of done versus closed.
Stuff like that.
I still think that is the unspoken argument within the ecosystem. Do you put your last status as done or closed? Does it vary? When do you do what? We've had multiple discussions. I still feel it's an unsettled topic.
But that's never going to be settled. But there are all those series of topics like that. John Funk's been doing this series in the community about different questions and guidance. And any one of those would be great as a discussing point. You know, you look at this small article, because he did one on open, closed, final statuses and that stuff. And then, you know, the two of you or the three of you could be talking about, well, yeah, here's a pro and here's a con, and you're sort of working through the article, and then you're calling out a few things that also occur to you. And in my experience, this and that.
But would that be interesting to you all?
I think a discussion of somebody else's article is actually kind of cool, because it also brings in other members of the community. You know, you could take a Rachel Wright article or a John Funk or anybody else, or people I've never heard of. that just suddenly appear, and you're like, wow, what is this guy on? Why does he think that this is counter to all other advice?
Yeah, because that might also work as a lure to say, hey, Rachel, we just had a really good debate on this article. Why don't you come and give us a behind the scenes on like what were you thinking when you wrote the article?
Yeah.
And maybe that might encourage other members of the community to jumpstart their posting of stuff. So maybe they're, so it could be debated here.
It's bringing the community together. So I just got a little detour that I've got to get in because it's been bugging me for months. This scrolling thing at the bottom of the screen, right? Check out Revise. I know Revise. I know Vish. Love Vish. It's fine. But boy, is it annoying moving things in a show like this. It's as bad as when there are little lights flashing behind you. And I'm like, oh my goodness, turn off the lights.
I'm a fan of having a permanent fixture on each corner, the company name and the app logo. They're just permanently fixed.
Yeah. But this scrolling, distracting thing at the bottom, it's like, I can't think of a similar comparison, but moving stuff is really distracting to me. I sometimes have to resize my Chrome window just so I can filter out the bottom.
We should do Matt. Are you reading this, Matt? Matt, are you reading this?
Yeah, especially sponsored here to annoy Matt. But if I'm annoyed, there's got to be other people.
So Matt, maybe. I think that's a great valid point. So let's dive deeper into detail, right? But obviously, we all do this for free, except for you guys because you pay us, right? But jokes aside, how do we? One of the things we've been struggling, right, is how do we maintain a authenticity? I can never say that word. Authenticity to the community, and this is where I put Andy on the highest pedestal of respect, right? Because we have to do right to Atlassian, but at the same time, I mean, these lights and cameras aren't free, right?
No.
Yeah.
Unless I go and steal my neighbor's electricity, Andy. Which again is the beauty of the show, because without that, nobody would ever know that I steal people's electricity. Anyways, how do we we want to balance having sponsors so that we can continue to grow and support? Because even just StreamYard, we discovered it's going to be like almost $1,000 expense a year just to have this platform to do the show, right? And maybe some feedback on what would you like to see? Should we maybe in the middle of it take a little pause and say this video is sponsored by Revise and eliminate because we want to do our sponsors right as well, right?
I think that's perfectly acceptable because people are used to that. They're like, this contains sponsored content. You take 1 minute for our sponsors, more from them in a moment, and why not? Yeah, and the occasional pop-up that says, "Hey, Revise is good for this." Fine. But it's the continuous 15 minutes of scrolling at the bottom. If I were watching a YouTube video of anything, I'd be annoyed by a scrolling thing at the bottom.
So to be fair, the contract specifies 20 minutes, and so we try and kind of for you after you first talked about, we try and put it in just at 5 minutes at a time. But sometimes we forget, and so but yeah,
one of the things that we can do, Bob, is because in case you missed our article a week ago now, Revise has Revise has sponsored all 2025 the Jira Life, right? So it's very possible that we, in our intro, because we are going to record those, that we permanently just affix, hey, this video is sponsored by Revise.
Yeah, just put the ad read in there.
Yeah, put the ad read in there as part of the intro, get it out of the way, and then maybe in the middle and then towards the end, we put it in the outro for sure, but then we just do a quick somewhere in there, and then I would like to have permanently affixed icons.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so long as it actually helps, because even better than having annoying scrolling, you could say, and this comes from Revise, and they do this, that, and the other, and they're great guys. That's better than just a scroll, I think.
Okay.
So, given the nature of how often this is a freewheeling show, how many times are we apt to forget or not right at the midpoint?
I think this gets to Alex's point where we just make it a part of our intro. So we're not forgetting to do it. It's automatically done for us. Yeah,
we take care of the intro and the outro. It's just part of it. So we already know they're our sponsors for the year. And Rodney and I have to do a better job at whenever there's like a break or a gap or somebody's this silence, we go, and we'll just take an opportunity to remind you all that this video is sponsored by Revive.
Wait, I need to mark this time. So okay.
Got it.
Something like that. Every once in a while, I try to fold it in to the conversation, right? Like backing up. You should have backed up your data. If only there was a great backup tool like Revive.
Yeah, brought to us by your lucky smoke sponsorship, smoke tobacco for good lungs. It feels very 40s radio, doesn't it?
All right, so we're okay. I think good feedback then on the sponsorship and how to handle that. And then, about contracts are like hearts, they're meant to be broken. So we just want to make sure we let Revive know that after talking with our members and people at the Atlassian community, we think that this might serve them better.
So Alex, let me ask you guys this, and again, this just because I love this type of content. So when the Jira Life is at events, or are you going to try to do more ACE events as well? Not all three of you don't need to be there, but hey, Rodney could be in the Atlanta one. Bob could do a Phoenix one. And have some Jira Life outtakes from those. Obviously, you're probably going to do something for Team 25, or is there other Atlassian events that you guys are looking at to try to
international ACE event for Alex?
Again, the first half of next year, or the first really 4 months next year, I'm not really going to be able to travel much. So outside of the Atlanta events, don't expect to see too much of me.
Look, I will come to your house with a microphone, right? That's fine. No problem.
I still should be able to get up to my office and record stuff. I will be here as much as I can be. There'll be a couple of weeks where I cannot be present.
Yep.
But health stuff going on. We're going to get it fixed, but the getting it fixed part is going to require me to be absent a little bit. And traveling is just not going to happen for a good while next year. That being said, I want to see, especially Alex, but I want to see TGL travel as much as our day jobs will allow us.
But
that does include ACE events.
Yeah. So Ed's question though doesn't always need to include travel, right? Like Bob runs his monthly ACE meetings, and I need to find the Orange County, California ACE leaders because I've been trying to get a hold of them for almost 2 years. Or actually,
Brian Guffey, isn't he?
No, he's LA.
No, he's up.
Sorry, to me, Californians are just one big blob on
yeah, we know. New York's the same as Phoenix, and it's all the same over outside California.
Well, have you put out like anything to the other events leaders to say, hey, we'd be interested in doing a live recording of the TJL at your ACE event? Let us know.
Yeah.
It's like automatic content.
So I've already, that's a great idea. So I was talking with Amanda. Bob, help me on her last name.
Amanda Barber.
The one we ran into at Austin.
Oh, Amanda Babb?
No. He's talking about Amanda Cortez from...
Yeah, Cortez from San Antonio.
Yeah. So she told me, she's like, hey, come down in the summer and do San Antonio, Austin, and Dallas and just hit the three. Boom. Right. But I thought those were cool because in February, but I just didn't hit record. But in February, I partnered up with Mark Cruz and we did San Diego, LA, and San Francisco.
The taco tour.
Yeah, the taco tour. So I would be okay doing one of those. And I think I'm gonna go down to Phoenix in March doing with Bob. Maybe you're gonna be there.
Yeah, we gotta talk you in on a hopefully get a good window for you, Ed.
Yeah, we'll get that. We'll get it figured out.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'd be open to a little travel, but then also local ones with our respective folks. Because Matt can maybe set up a GoPro at the San Francisco one and send it our way. And Sean, you're running Denver. Andy, you got New York. Right? Maybe you can go to upstate.
Hey, I got a nosy comment just when you were talking, Rodney. There's enough people on the channel who'd be interested in knowing vague general status updates on your health. I don't want to suggest a formal, here's the section about Rodney stuff, but
a memoir.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that. So I have a heart condition. Basically, the inner wall of the bottom chamber of my heart is too thick and it obstructs blood flow. Not great when you want to pump blood to your lungs, like most people I assume want to. And it's not a lifestyle kind of disease. This is a congenital genetic disease. It's the type of thing, if I were to have kids, I would pass on potentially. So that's a consideration there. The problem is it's becoming so obstructive that it's causing other issues. Twice this year, I had to go to the ER for atrial fibrillation, which can lead to all sorts of other problems. It's not deadly in and of itself, but it can lead to other problems with blood clots that are deadly. So treat it like an emergency, go to the emergency room. That's happened twice so far this year. The last time just a couple of weeks ago. So considering that and considering where my health is, we're going to be undergoing a couple of procedures at the same time to kind of address both those problems. We just moved it up. Our original time frame was somewhere in March. Now, late February is when we're going to be doing it. We have a firm date with the surgeon. Everything's scheduled. All the tests are done. It's just, I got to get there without killing myself.
Understood. And I know it's a private, personal thing as well, but people do care in the community. And then, just silly things like, is there an address I can send a card to, or flowers, or just give my suggestion is to give some people a way to show that they care. Right. Or even, putting a fund together, a GoFund to donate, to raise money for something else not related to the surgery, just like, so people feel they're doing something.
I mean, I can just show up at your house, Rodney, and you'll be like, "Okay, here's Rodney. He looks good."
Yeah, with barbecue, right?
Barbecue. I know you're not supposed to have this, but here you go.
Ed's looking to perfect barbecue tofu.
As long as it's not jackfruit, no barbecue jackfruit.
Is that like pineapple on the pizza?
It's kind of like durian, a little less stinky.
Yeah.
On a similar note, we, as you all know, what's his name? Somebody help me. Jimmy Oxchira. He does his live streams where he does donations, and as you all know, we tend to like to do long, extended live streams. What did y'all think about our 2 lengthy live streams this year?
Loved it. I loved seeing Alex not there when he's taking a nap.
You were not there.
He was interesting.
I love seeing the degradation of Rodney over a certain amount of time. And
I'm not guaranteeing the live streams helped or hurt with my conditions, but the doctors were less than impressed.
I loved it.
Wow. No, I didn't like him. I didn't join the 24-hour because I'm like, that is just masochism. It's something I would have done as a younger person, and now I'm like, that's just so silly. Let the kids get on with it.
Oh no, we learned this really lesson too.
That's my opinion about 2025 power live stream. Yeah, let the younger kids do it. That's why do you think we're bringing in new team members like Sarah and Dr. Valerie? I mean,
we should talk about that too. What do y'all think
one of the best things? One of the best things for the channel this year has been getting a bit more balance, a bit more different views. Yeah, good all round.
Cool. So we'll keep the 2 gals on.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you. So 24 hours is crazy. I don't know if we'll ever do that again. Mainly because we got punished by the YouTube gods.
I think we lost like over half of the video from that live stream.
Yeah. So this recording software only records 10 hours, and YouTube won't even publish anything over 12 hours.
Like even if you break it up, or
if you break it up, yeah. But we had a debate about that on the 11th hour and 50th minute, and I got overruled. And so, but might not be a problem now that we have YouTube or StreamYard Studios, because then it's the same link to join. So I don't know. We'll see. But that's why we did for Scott's farewell. That's why we intentionally kept it at 9 hours and 59 minutes. to appease the recording, and it's under the 12-hour limit from YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, 12 hours. Have you ever watched a 12-hour YouTube? Anybody?
Have you
Yes,
not seen
actually.
Nate? I mean, game streaming go for like hours on Twitch.
Well, that's good, but I've never watched one. So
Ones I watch,
gonna say,
the ones
they
I really
exist.
love is there's this lady who drives trains up in Norway, and she'll record the view from the cab as she's driving a train, and just live stream continuous loops of that.
I have seen those, but I fast forward through it all because I'm like, dude, 10 hours of train is too much.
Well, you see, I put that on like the side TV and just have it as noise as I'm working throughout the day.
So, but the live stream on the live stream front, we've been thinking of doing a series of extended live streams where we try to break Jira. For example, how many statuses can a Jira workflow handle? Like, how many actual statuses can you put into a workflow before Jira says, nope, you can't put more statuses in here? Does anybody know what the upper limit is?
I did something like this with releases in a Jira project some number of years ago, and noting, okay, this is the point where Jira just won't even load the project anymore. This is the point where Jira won't even load anymore. And I had a little more fine-tuned control over it because it was a data center instance.
Oh yeah.
But what are these limits? What happens when you do something crazy?
In the middle of the episode, because you're doing it on cloud, you get this call from Atlassian saying, hey, what are you doing? Spam, and you're off.
What's going to happen
this is gone now.
what's going to happen is we're going to crash Jira, and then Atlassian's going to have to send an apology email again.
Oh, no, it won't be an apology email. It'll be like a cease and desist email.
The Jira Life no longer allowed to Jira.
Yeah, no, I like the idea with DC. Actually, with the DC stuff, I have a whole big page somewhere of all the queries to find out the maximum limits you've done in all these different things and what works. And MCV calls could be.
He knows.
I think that's fascinating. I'd love to know when things break, but you're going to have trouble doing it with cloud. But
that's, I think it'd just be interesting, like just even sitting there for 3-4 hours and going like, well, we just stuck 500 statuses in, folks. You don't go higher than that.
I'm not sure it's going to take you 3 to 4 hours to do that.
Yeah, 24 minutes, and
Depends how
500
interesting session, but I don't know if
depends how involved with the API I get.
Yeah.
So, have anyone seen those LinkedIn posts recently from Nicola about, here's a bug that I found in Jira 10.3 whatever, and I'm posting it on LinkedIn because I can't work out how to post stuff about complaints to Atlassian about new bugs. And I'm like, this is so weird. Posting public bugs in LinkedIn, it just blows my mind a bit. Yeah.
The other thing on the live stream front, other than trying to break Jira, would be Ronnie and I. As you all may or may not know, there's 6 ACAs and 4 ATPs, and so we have 2 of the ATPs on record. And we're thinking of just knocking out the rest and just doing like long 10, 13-hour videos. I mean, these wouldn't be live stream, right? What we do is we live stream the individual hours, and then we dump the massive 10, 12, 13-hour video of the whole course on there. So those are, again, just other things that we're going to be looking at, because there's ACAs and ACPs to be had.
I know there's always interest from the community from that perspective.
Beyond
And then
the community,
there's a topic of the Jira duties. I usually do this on my main channel, but would you all be interested in seeing some type of Jira duty here?
What is a duty or duty?
Well, are you familiar with jury duty?
Oh, I get it.
But I find those entertaining.
But what?
I find them entertaining.
I do too. I find the most entertaining part to me is not even the answers. It's Alex struggling to figure out how he wants to answer. It's like you talk about the problem in such broad terms, and you have to get to the point where you can actually translate that into. You need like an AI bot that will take that vocal thought process that you do and actually put the answer into the community, so you can actually get answers done. Because I don't know how many answers you actually average during the 1 hour Jira duties, but I think maybe the tops you got was like 5 over an hour, which is a long time to spend 12 minutes on a question. Like I answer a lot of questions in community. I don't think I've ever spent 12 minutes on an answer. But it's just the thought process. It's like watching you think through, okay, so how do we want to do this? And what are we going to say? That interests me.
Well, that's kind of the fun of that. That goes back to our topical things of when we talk about like what we want to do, right? It's listening to Rodney and me and other experts. How do we process the thought process, right? Like I think a lot of people ask like, hey, why are like game streaming so popular, right? Why do we watch live sports when we're not out there doing live sport, right? But you watch for entertainment and also for eventual inspiration, if you will, right? And I think it's valuable. I think the most valuable thing Rodney and I can give to the Atlassian community is how do experts think about these problems, especially when you're looking at a novice or a new person to the Jira ecosystem. Like you can't teach that stuff, right? You can't teach all the collective years of experience we all have as administrators. And I kind of like that because it just shows like I'm intentionally articulating out my thought process, whether it's entertaining or boring or useful or not. I think it's helpful for people to understand how to critically think through a problem in Jira.
Yes, agreed.
And this kind of if you are a JirAmigo, a denizen of the peanut gallery from the start, you will remember early on in season 1 there would be times when Rodney and Alex would ask those of us, hey, do you have any questions? We have $400 an hour worth of experts in here. We can answer your question, and there would be crickets because the audience themselves
are experts.
Were mostly Jira experts who already knew the answers to said questions. So,
but is there merit then in listening to how we think about the problem? Because I think like Andy, I mean, each one of us, because that was another kind of very side conversation, right? Like Rodney and I have all of us here have very distinctive, like how do we fix the same problem in Jira? We're all probably going to arrive to it in a different way. And I think it's value in like Sean just learning like, oh, well, I didn't even think about it that way, or vice versa, right? And just kind of seeing how others do it, but also teaching and mentoring the next generation of admins.
Well, I think there's great value in that. What I'm saying is you're not going to get the questions themselves from
but that's why there's community
asking in the peanut gallery from a bunch from an audience that are already, for the most part, experts in the Atlassian tools. You gotta get your questions from somewhere else, and this is where yes, we're going to go into the community forums once again.
So what if then the main show was a topic, UI changes, and then Jira related questions from the community on like UI or topical to what we talked about, right? Like if we're talking about pricing changes in Jira, well, we can then answer questions about like adding and removing users, or checking to like how do you remove users that haven't been active in the last 60 days or 90 days or something to help complement the topic that we talked about.
I'm sure that could definitely help fill up the hour.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting. I mean, in general, I love listening to experts talk about and see how they think about something I don't know the details of. And right now, something like the nitty-gritty of Atlassian licenses is something that overwhelms me. And I'd be quite interested to see people answering complicated little questions. But then I also like watching people, build a stone wall, dry stone wall, right? I've no idea how they do it. It's gorgeous. Just seeing the basics of it, kind of like, oh, that makes sense now they've explained it. So I think if you had questions from the community, say, here we are answering these, 2 or 3 different opinions, and why do you have different opinions from the other expert? That sounds interesting to me.
You know what would be interesting from what you guys are saying is, what if we had a TGL watch party?
Yeah.
Watch party.
What if Atlassian community members live streamed the Jira Life, and we had episodes where they were topical and appropriate to an Atlassian community event, but people in various regions of the world would get together to watch it.
Only if we could do the silly reactions like Oh my goodness, he said that. Oh,
I mean,
Are you saying to actually then live stream that group into the like you'll have your
Not
episode
necessarily,
going?
but like have people locally gather to watch the Jira Life on the.
the only way I could see that is if we go with Andy's idea, where we do have the ability to bring in people. So if someone has a question in one of the remote groups, we could pop them on, and they could ask their questions live in front of the whole group.
Yeah.
The
If
other
so they
issue
want.
that you have, which is the time
Time
issue,
zone.
is that most you're only going to get European ACE chapters for that, and not really even because if the normal time to go live is 5 p.m. Eastern, there are almost in the U.S. you're going to have no Atlassian ACE events going on during that time period because people
unless we
do
do
those
another-
after work, not during work, and it's
Unless we
work
do another 10-hour live stream where it is literally like the 1 year anniversary of the Jira Life, and it's pre-planned, and we get different regions of the world to come online at different times.
I mean, that
Or
could
different-
work.
sounds like a logistical nightmare.
No, I know, but that would be the once a year event that we do plan out ahead of time and get
Good luck, Bob.
I will conveniently find a way to oh sorry.
Bob will suddenly get COVID on us. I know he will. Quote
I
unquote.
was like, every
COVID.
time Alex opens his mouth, is more work for me.
But seriously, I do want to touch on this because Andy brought it up. Earlier this year, we did experiment with moving our time around to accommodate different time zones. And looking at the numbers over that time period, I think Sean put it best when he said, I just have no idea when you're going to be on week to week. What do you guys think about different ways to accommodate different time zones? Because we are a global community, but we can only do one time a week because we all have different activities we're a part of.
Let me add to that question. What do y'all think about the different time zones? But then, what if they were recorded as well? Like, what are your thoughts on the recorded segments versus live segment? Does the Jira Life need to always be live?
You lose the participation when it's recorded, meaning Matt, myself, Sean, I can't imagine any of us are going to start putting things in the comment section on a recorded video. Like it's just you I think that's what you're losing is the interaction, which is what makes this so endearing to so many people. Is like you're in the comments, you're featuring comments on the screen, you're reacting to those comments. I'm not going to say you can't do like a pre-recorded segment when you need to, and like say, okay, we're going to jump to the segment. Like maybe you do your pre-recorded revise ads and just pop them in, and people like use that as a bathroom break, or whatever.
Right.
I think that to do that, to have a go-to-market plan with pre-recorded is you're going to lose a lot of what you spoke about earlier, which is wanting to build a community. Communities are not interested in watching recorded content that I could just watch any other time. I know Thursday at 5 p.m., as Rodney and I were speaking before we all came on today, I know I'm going to be on the train, and it's like part of what I do. I get on the train at 4:46 p.m. I settle in, got my laptop open, I got my iPhone out. Some days you guys are on the laptop, some days you guys are on the iPhone, depending on what I'm doing with one or the other.
Yeah.
But it's part of like it is ingrained in me that I am going to make it to this event and be a participant. Versus if it's moved around to different times, I'm gonna have to accommodate different schedules. It'll be hard. I'm not saying that you guys shouldn't be able to do that, particularly if you know that there's a lot of interest from a specific region or community for that week's. But if you start bumping around and I can't keep track of it, like this is one of the things that's like on my calendar set.
Yeah. So, but I like that as a compromise, right? Because we could still, Rodney and I can still do the topical debate, but we can say, hey, we also this week we went and chatted with other experts. Let's listen to what they had to say, and we can pull in a recording from somebody in Dubai, somebody in I don't know, South America, all over the world, and just kind of us like MC a little show, but then still have like, what do y'all think about that? Like, what do you think they're good? Like, we obviously won't be able to interact with that particular speaker, but we can still chat about what they said. And that would leave us with our consistent time, and that would allow us to schedule a 9 p.m. call with whomever earlier in the week. And it doesn't have to be a full hour. It can be a 5-minute clip, it can be a 10-minute clip that we can just then throw in.
if we do that, I mean, I like that as a compromise. Me and you, Alex, are really going to have to step up and get some of these interviews done because Bob's got enough to do over a given week just getting the Thursday show ready to go.
Well, it wouldn't have to be every week, right? It would be whenever we would have an offshore, like an inconvenient time zone person.
Yeah.
Like just to accommodate somebody, like what we did with Yimi that one time, right? Where his whole segment was pre-recorded because he had a conflict with the time zone. So it would just open it up. I'm not saying it would be every week, but every once in a while when we do have a guest that just can't make the time, we can pull them in and just get their opinions.
I will say we have been very fortunate, especially towards the latter half of this year, that almost all of our guests have been willing to accommodate our set time.
Poor Vish, he was tired. He was sleepy. All right.
So what about getting some more help for Bob? I think you've got a single producer. That seems like a bottleneck to this show as it grows, and as you've got all these good ideas. So, assistant producer.
We kind of have a little bit, but we can definitely kick Lina up a little bit more.
Yeah. Well,
Come on,
I
Lina.
think Lena's plenty busy with Ape Tech, though.
spread it out a bit. Or pick another one in the community and say, hey, can anybody else help here? Not that I'm volunteering myself, but I do think
throw your wife under the bus on a live video.
I think that's a good feedback. And then so we do have Sarah, and so Sarah does. We're still trying to figure out how Sarah plays in all this, right? Like,
so are we.
Right now, she is
one day, and all of a sudden she became a part of the crew, and we're like, well, what's going on here?
Normally, she is a part-time co-host, and that's as formal as we ever get with anything on the show. Everything here is very much whatever we feel like that week. But as formal as anything is, she is a part-time co-host. Beyond that, it's whatever jobs need doing, someone grab, shovel, and start helping.
Well, I know we're at the top of the hour here, so anything else?
Last thoughts, last words.
So Team 25, we're tailgating at Alex's, right?
Yep.
Which day?
The day after Disneyland.
I was going to say either Saturday or Sunday. It depends on when we can get the meet and when Ed can put the rub on it, and and then it's going to be at least 12 hours for.
So most likely Sunday.
So most likely, I've booked Disney all 3 days before teams, so I need to figure out which one I need to reschedule.
Well, Rodney will be FaceTimed in, and then we'll do the Jira Life.
I mean, just speaking to anyone out there in the peanut gallery, if we could get the phone, like one of those iPad robots online, so I could just roam around, that'd be amazing.
I'll get you.
We'll just live stream the whole conference. That's what we were doing for Andy last year. Where we're just he was watching all the videos on the plane.
But you watch them at 3x speed.
I haven't registered yet, but this year it'll be the opposite because I have to leave early this year because Passover is at the end of that week. So I'll be there on time at the beginning of the week, and then I will be catching up with all of Thursday. I'll probably take the red eye back Wednesday night, and unless our family plans on doing Passover in California, or Utah, which I'm pretty sure is not going to happen, and then I would be able to stay a little bit longer. I will be catching up on Thursday with all the content you guys are going through.
Passover in like Newport Beach might not be a bad idea.
So I'm going to be there until Thursday evening, and with my wife who's coming for the first time to one of these. This is a bit of an experiment. We'll see if I'm actually social enough to talk to her after I've talked to everyone else. But cross the fingers.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you. Unnecessary, but very much unappreciated comment, but we got it. Thank you.
Just to let you in on it, it was so unscripted to the point that I got a message from Trello that Alex Ortiz had still not accepted his invitation to be on the Trello board. So
Where's that invite at?
I am sorry, but that 10-second segment of you saying that has to become a YouTube short that you guys throw at the Trello Trailblazers and see what their response about accepting invites to Jira instances is.
Oh, sorry. One last point, because Brittany and I have been flirting with this idea. What do you guys think if we figure out a way to do face-offs on this channel? Right, where we solve a real business problem, and like Rodney or I, or Brittany and I, like Brittany tries to solve it in Trello, I try to solve it in Jira, or Rodney does it his way, I do it my way.
I think it's going to be more entertaining if Alex tries to do it in Trello and Brittany tries to do it in Jira.
I would even pay for that.
Yes.
Yeah, and then somebody else gets to do it in Excel. Solve this problem with colored little boxes.
Somebody just comes into Excel and watch this, hold my beer.
Yeah.
I think the challenge is getting the split screen where you can see what Brittany's doing on her screen and Alex or anybody else from TGL is doing on their screen, and not talking over each other, right? Like to see them, the 5-second challenge. It sounds like Phil Fox should probably run it, right? He could be the game show host for that, but I would definitely watch something like that, whether it's live or recorded. That I would go for.
That might be worked out. Okay, so good feedback for some cool stuff we want to work on in 2025. The great face off, because we do a lot of like digging at each other, right? And I think it'd be pretty cool to put your money where your mouth is.
I love this dynamic we have with the Trello Trailblazers, because it is entirely in reality, we have the deepest respect for each other. We know we do different things. We know all that. But on the surface, we just love to dig at each other.
Yeah, the trash talk. My wife did point out when there were female presenters in the show, the tone is very different because the women aren't digging at each other like guys do. Just saying.
Are you saying the testosterone level is just that much reduced?
I would say it appeals to a different audience, or a wider audience, in fact. If it's not always guys beating on each other. I mean, I think that's funny, but it did have its other appeal. Sarah's very polite.
Nice.
All right. Well, everyone, Ed Gale, Matt Dorr, Andy, Sean, thank you for being on. Thank you for your honest opinions. We're going to be doing this again next year, so go ahead and last Thursday of the year, reserve that. No, that's going to be a TJL. That being said, as we always say here,
well, first, thank you for your support.
Next week's episode.
Sure.
We wouldn't hear without you guys, so thank you so much for
We
believing.
wouldn't be here if it
whatever
wasn't for you
we're trying to
guys.
do.
So thank you for putting it all together and staying true to the course over the last 2 years. It's definitely been a highlight of the entire community that you guys have come on and done this. It definitely filled a niche that that I don't think everyone knew was missing, but probably knows now they can't live without. So really appreciate you guys doing that.
Yeah.
Cool.
All
Right. Well, happy 2025.
Yes.
Yep.
Happy 2025.
And now you have content for next week's TJL. You could do the retrospective next week.
I might just make it into Trello between now and next week.
Maybe. I'm not counting on it. But anyways, as we always say here,
we didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose us.
thanks everyone for watching.
Awesome.
That's what we need for all of our members. We record that segment. So
Thank you for listening to the Jira Life. Our hosts are Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Rodney, the Jira Guy, Nissen. You can find Alex on YouTube at 8Tech Tutorials, and Rodney's blog is found over at thejiraguy.com. Our producers are Robert King Bob Wen and Lina Ortiz. You can catch us live as we record this podcast every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube at The Jira Life. be sure to join us and our other JirAmigos of the Peanut Gallery every week to ask your questions, let us know your comments, and just tell us what you're up to. But if you can't join us live, you can still catch the replay over on YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell while you're watching. We're also available as a podcast over on Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you listen to it and think it deserves a rating, we would very much appreciate it, as it will help others discover the Jira Life. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose us.